the whole time we were dating, he was very clear. There were certain things that were just for his wife, and I was not his wife yet.
Hey, I'm Alicia Renee Greer, and I'm here again today with my husband Jarell, sharing 10 tips for how to keep marriage sacred while dating. Let's jump right in.
He made it very clear, I'm not his wife. I'm the person he's courting to see if I will be his wife. But the whole time, there was this very strong sense that there was a place in his life and in his heart that he was keeping for just his wife. And until someone actually said I do, then that space was for her and her alone.
And can I say something real quick with that?
Yeah.
A lot of times guys use that as an excuse to not give their best, right? But the difference is is this. I got to a point where I felt 90% sure this is my wife. You know what I mean? Like I will never say 100% until you get there, but I felt fairly confident this was my wife pretty early on. So it wasn't a sense that like, oh, I was just trying to avoid, like I was trying to avoid, commitment or avoid, giving her her best. It's like I felt, so in my heart she was my wife, but because in actuality she wasn't my wife, therefore I still had to, I still felt it was the right thing to do to act accordingly. So.
I'm glad you said that too, because I do think sometimes guys do use that to like keep you at arm's length, but not from a protected marriage standpoint, because they don't want to fully commit to you, and that's not what he was doing. Right.
Or the flip side, you have guys who are like, well, I know she's gonna be my wife anyway, so I might as well just do whatever. I can give it all up. I can, I don't think either extreme is good. So even though I felt she was my wife, I still felt like the right thing to do as far as understanding, valuing marriage. Marriage is here, so therefore don't give your heart and marriage perspective and actions when you're not there yet, even if I felt like she really was my wife. So I think both of those principles are important in doing this thing the best way.
So in practical terms, what did that look like? Because people always want to know, what did that look like practically? So, we know that he valued marriage. Like marriage was a thing versus boyfriend and girlfriend. Like boyfriend and girlfriend wasn't really like a thing. So what did that look like practically in our relationship for us to value marriage and not just dating?
Well, it started with understanding, for me, what are the things that are supposed to be valued in marriage. So for example, I guess it would start with intimacy. That is the biggest thing. I believe the core elements of intimacy was for marriage. And so therefore, what does that look like? So intimacy obviously goes into the physical things, meaning how physically intimate you are. So I was very particular about having some level of boundaries as far as, how intimate we're going to become in this stage. And there's no definitive black and white line. This is marriage and this isn't. So the way I explained it to myself and how it made sense to me is anything that would stimulate me too much in certain ways, if you get my drift. So like any things that were in that realm, which can be a lot of different things, but I tried to keep that be the line. Like, okay, we can kind of do this much, but not that kind of stuff that's going to start stimulating in other ways. So because I believe that level of intimacy is designed for marriage. So that's the physical part, and then there's also the intimacy is also emotional and mental. Like it's all part of the intimate connection. So that it even went into the kind of things the kind of dates we went on, and how we spent our time, and the kind of ways we communicated with each other. I didn't do a whole lot of, oh baby, I'm gonna give you the world, and oh baby, you're my one and only for life. Like, like just how I communicated, and a lot of even how we dated. Like I feel like a lot of times when we date, we give like our best foot forward in the dating season. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to give them the world early on. But I did try my best not to do a lot of that. But we still went out and have fun.
Yeah.
But
don't get it like don't feel like we didn't do anything. Like we definitely like we did the little cute little like mini golf and out to dinner. We did all that stuff. But there were limits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we tried to just keep some kind of boundaries on it. And so again, so my heart and most of this was more like the first half of the relationship. Once we got to the second half, I was willing to be a little more, develop a deeper level of connection, which is important because it should be a process to build, right? So, but particularly the first half of it, just being very particular about the levels of intimacy. So again, physical, emotional. We spent a lot of time talking, like having real conversations about how could our life look like, and how can our lives connect, and how are we compatible. You know what I mean? So we did spend a lot of time just dialoguing. Dialoguing at the park and dialoguing while we're walking the dog, and but still talking and learning each other. So I felt like that was the most important thing. And and then just setting boundaries around how we hung out. I'm making sure we're not hanging out in ways and environments that kind of cultivate, like type of sexual, romantic vibes and feelings. So, just trying to be mindful of those things. So that's some of the practical things.
I'll add a couple practical things. Like, one of the things that we see people do often when they're in relationships is kind of blast it on social media. We did not blast our relationship on social media until we were engaged. Once we were engaged, we both updated our statuses. But while we were dating, there was no status like in a relationship. We didn't do that. I don't think, did we? No, we didn't. Yeah. And then
we barely like showed our relationship through social media.
Yeah.
Like, towards the end, we did a little bit more, and everybody kind of knew what it was. But even still, we never had this like, where's that thing?
Yeah, basically the way I can explain it is, sometimes when you're in a relationship, it's almost like you brand yourselves together as a pair. We didn't brand ourselves together as a pair like that. Like me and him doing this, me and him doing that, because the thought process is, well, we're not like a branded pair yet. We're just two people evaluating. That's the difference. It's like we're evaluating. We're not a thing yet. And I think that's a big difference in the world. It's like while you're dating, like you guys are, you pretty much have as much intimacy as a married person. There's not a lot of division between what you get as a spouse and what you get as just a dating partner. So we tried to avoid that. Now I do want to make a distinction. By no means was our relationship a secret, though.
Right.
Absolutely not. It's just, on social media, there's so many more people than just your inner circle. But both of our pastors knew, both of our families knew, our close friends knew. We didn't date in a vacuum whatsoever. Another thing that we did.
Let me just say something real quick
Yes.
on that. Just to piggyback off that, I have that was real important to me because I have a real strong conflict with what I call boyfriend girlfriend glorification, and I don't like the idea that we promote boyfriend and girlfriend relationships so heavy. So when you see people, it's like people, I hear all the time, people literally want a boyfriend or girlfriend. It's like, I really want a boyfriend, I really want a girlfriend, like I really want that thing. And so it's like, so when you get one, you want to announce to the world, like, yay, look everybody, I got a boyfriend, look, I got a girlfriend. And it's like glorifying this thing that is in conflict with marriage, because when you glorify that, then it makes people want to have that thing, and then you give this marriage stuff to the boyfriend girlfriend relationship. And it was important to me that I did not contribute to that issue that's really out there right now. So that's kind of another passionate reason why it was important to not go that route.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I was going to say something. Okay, I don't know. I'll just say it this way. So what we're really trying to say is that we really just made an effort to honor God in our relationship, and to do that by making marriage sacred. Marriage, the sacred space for intimacy, not dating. So are we trying to say you shouldn't take a picture with the person you're dating ever and put it on social media? No. We're not trying to make it about the rules. It's not about the specific rules, it's about the principle. And I think if you have the principle, then you'll navigate what you should and shouldn't do based around your goal. And if your goal is to preserve marriage as that sacred space for intimacy, the Bible says marriage should be honored by all. The Bible says that. And so I think, though, that our society really doesn't honor marriage all that much, because, not to get too much into like teaching, but sacred means like reserved for a special purpose. Mm-hmm. The opposite of sacred is actually common. So I think what we've done is our society, we've made the things that were used to be sacred for marriage, we've made them common, like living together is common, having sex together is common, making out is common, professing your love to each other is common, giving your whole heart is common, branding yourself together is common. Like, it's like you could do that with any person that you just have feelings for. But our goal was to honor the sacredness of marriage. And so I think that if that's your mindset, then it will focus you when you're dating to say, this is not a person I'm in covenant with. Therefore, I'm going to honor my temple, their temple, honor God, and not get too intimate with this person. Because if that's not your person, that's somebody else's future husband or wife. I used to think that, so it's like, keep that space for your spouse protected, and just evaluate and find out as quickly as you can, is this the person? Ask those heavy hitting questions. Like, if you know for sure that having kids is a deal breaker for you and that person says they don't want kids, move on to the next quickly, I think. Because sometimes we're in a relationship for a long time because it's really not a great fit, but we're just trying to make it work. And I just think that's the space for a lot of compromise. So I think the better advice and the better wisdom is to get through the evaluation like quickly. Don't rush it. I'm not saying rush into marriage, but I'm saying focus as much as possible on that evaluation rather than just spending lots of time and just vibing and chemistry and romance. Like, get that answer, because what we're really designed for is marriage. So you guys heard me right. I'm not saying rush into marriage. I'm saying get to the point.
I agree with that so much. I think a lot of times we make the building chemistry and the connection part the priority before the compatibility. And we're just saying flip it.
Yeah.
So for example, as opposed to, I get to know you, let's go out, let's hang out, let's have fun. No, let's talk. So are we compatible for marriage? Because we can spend all this time vibing and connecting and having fun, and then 5 months down the line, we realize, for whatever reason, we're not compatible. But it takes time to build chemistry. You can kind of get a lot of your compatibility, at least understanding, pretty early on. For me, few conversations usually, I can get like most of my compatibility. So now I feel like there's a 80% chance that we're compatible from my perspective. So now we can now take the time to build and see if we have chemistry and if we vibe and have a little fun. But when you put the fun and the vibe and the dating and the fulfillment above the compatibility, I think you're setting yourself up to waste time, to waste emotions, and even more dangerous effects down the line. So I definitely think finding compatibility early on should be the most important thing.
Yes. Plus, when you flip it, and I'm speaking from experience, when you put that chemistry and all that first and you just bond, oh my gosh, it blurs your vision. It makes it so hard to be objective. It's just like,
I just love him.
And he's over here lying every other day, but it's like, he's trying, you just make excuses for someone because you have so many feelings for them. So if you just flip it, put the evaluation first, it helps. It really does help.
You're not the one for me. So it was nice knowing you for these past 5 days, but we're just not going to work out. We're not compatible. And usually it's usually a smooth transition. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Somebody might feel some kind of way, but it's not like these heavy emotions.
Yeah, because that's how heartbreak happens. And I've experienced heartbreak a few times before Jarell, and it was just from putting the emotions first with someone that wasn't quite compatible. And it's like, why didn't I just,
Thank you guys so much for watching. Next, are you curious about how to evaluate the person you're dating? Be sure to subscribe so that you can be notified about the final video in this series, where Jarell and I talk about what specific questions we asked during the dating process. And always feel free to like and share with a friend. God bless.